Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Double or Nothing review. And the show was from the Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. And the show just ended a couple of minutes ago, went off the air at 12 o'clock. Show started at 8, which AEW needs to work on that. I think that they should start their shows at 7 o'clock. So, and then, if it's a long show, the show could be over, close to 11 o'clock. Have the pre-show start at 6 o'clock, 6:30 or whatever. That's what WWE does. They have their pre-show for an hour, and then the pay-per-view starts at 7. So AEW, needs to work on that for their future shows, because, you don't want to drag out, these shows. Have the show going at a good, pace, and then towards like the middle of the show, just the show starts to drag. We don't want that. You all don't want that. So, but they seriously need to put their pay-per-views at 7 o'clock, start time. Like I said, have the pre-show at 6:30. So have the pay-per-view start at 7, and then, the show will be over at 11 o'clock, and we could all do, our reviews, for the show. Instead of doing a review at, 12 o'clock, 12:30 in the morning, but that's something that they need to work on. Hopefully, Tony Khan, gets, an idea of that, and, have the shows, have their future pay-per-view shows, start at 7 o'clock. That's what I think that they should do. But this was an awesome show. Double or Nothing this year was awesome. Really enjoyed the show. It wasn't a perfect show by any means. I really enjoyed the matches that were on tonight's pay-per-view. So we had the casino ladder match, where whoever wins, they get a future shot at the AEW World Championship. And we also saw a surprise entry into this match, which I thought was really cool. And I liked how, the guy who's managing this certain talent that was here. So we had that. We had MJF versus Jungle Boy. And we had Cody versus Lance Archer to crown the TNT champion. Mike Tyson was going to present the winner of the match, the TNT Championship. And we saw Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rhodes in a no DQ, no countouts match. And the AEW Women's World Championship was on the line. We saw, of course, Jon Moxley versus Brodie Lee for the AEW World Championship. And the first ever, and possibly be, the only, first and last time we will ever see this, the Stadium Stampede Match. And man, oh man, that match, I couldn't believe, how funny and hilarious that match was, and how entertaining it was. I just had a good time throughout that whole match. After the match was over, I'm like, what, I gotta rewatch that match again, at some point. But overall, let's jump right in to the review. So we had the match that was on the Countdown show, which I didn't get to see. and it was the Best Friends versus Private Party. And whoever won the match will be got to be the number one contenders for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. So, according here, it says the Best Friends ended up winning. You had Cassidy being dropped to the floor, and the Best Friends end up winning the match by pinfall, and the Best Friends are now the number one contenders for the AEW World Tag Team titles. So there you go. So and then we had the show start, and we had Joey Janela. He ended up saying that he wasn't supposed to be on the Double or Nothing card. He ended up saying opportunity came knocking last night, because last night, of course, was the countdown to Double or Nothing, which aired at 10 o'clock on TNT. And Janela says he got a call from Tony Khan. And Janela was going to be joining the Casino Ladder match. And Kip Sabian ended up saying that ladder matches are in his blood. And he was like, everybody's probably wondering if Penelope Ford or Jimmy Havoc is going to get involved. And Havoc ended up saying that this match is about Kip Sabian. Sabian ended up saying that his opponents will suffer, and he'll enjoy every single minute. Christopher Daniels ended up saying that tonight is all about opportunity. He ended up bringing up how Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian had opportunities, and they came very close to winning their matches. And Daniels ended up saying that with tonight's match, a win for either of them is a win for SCU. So then it cuts to the Best Friends, and they explain to Orange Cassidy how he's going to win by climbing the ladder, and that they will all be champions. So then we went to the first match, which was, of course, the Casino Ladder match. The winner of the match will get to have a future AEW World Championship match. So we had the participants, which was Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus, and a surprise guy that was brought into this match. So, but this match, of course, was awesome, but it was kind of a clusterfuck, in my opinion, because you had all these guys, going at it, and it was just, going all around in this match. It was crazy. Like, it was hard to keep up with all these guys. So the match started. Frank Kazarian and Scorpio Sky were the first two to enter the Casino Ladder match. And pretty much the way how this worked was every 2 minutes, someone else who was involved in this match will join in. And the winner of the match, they had to retrieve the poker chip that was hanging above the Daily's place. So whoever retrieved the poker chip will receive a AEW World Championship match in the future. And I gotta say, I liked how the set looked for the pay-per-view. I liked how the look of the Daily's place looked. where you had the slot machine and the poker chips around ringside, and you had like the cards, the cards with the AEW stars on them, which I thought that was cool. Liked how the way the look of the show was in Daly's place. So both guys ended up going right out for a ladder. Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky. They ended up bringing the ladders into the ring, and Scorpio Sky ended up looking to go for the double stomp to Kazarian. Kazarian ended up moving out of the way. Kazarian then ended up running the ropes, and they ended up colliding into one another. So then Kip Sabian entered the match. So you had Havoc, who was in the ring, and he throws a ladder at both Scorpio Sky and Kazarian. So Havoc then ended up helping out Kip Sabian. He ended up putting Kazarian up on the top turnbuckle, put the ladder on the bottom turnbuckle. Kazarian ended up shoving Sabian down off of it. And Kazarian ended up hitting a suplex to get rid of Havoc. Kip Sabian ended up putting Scorpio Sky on the ring steps. He ended up climbing up the ladder. Kazarian ended up putting a ladder in the middle of the ring. And Kazarian ended up trying to climb the ladder. He got yanked down. And Sabian ended up coming in with a high knee, but Scorpio Sky was back in the ring, and he ended up dropping Sabian. And then we get Darby Allin entering the match. And Darby Allin here, he was awesome. And there was a point here where Darby Allin, he ended up trying to whip Kazarian into the ladder, and he slides under. Darby Allin ended up launching, throwing his skateboard at Frankie Kazarian, and Allin ended up climbing up the ladder. It was a tall, very tall ladder. And this right here is why Darby Allin is awesome. So as Darby was on the ladder, the tall ladder, he ended up leaping off the ladder with his skateboard. And Kazarian ended up moving out of the way because Kazarian was put on the ladder. Kazarian ended up moving out of the way, and Darby Allin then crashed through the ladder, injuring his knee, or I guess twisting his knee. So that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool move that Darby Allin did. Jumping, leaping off the ladder on his skateboard. Then we had Orange Cassidy into the match. And Orange Cassidy was in no rush to get into the match. He went over to the commentary table. He ended up asking how he wins the match. Then the commentators, Excalibur, JR, and Tony Schiavone, they were trying to explain to Cassidy. And he ended up looking annoyed. And he slowly made his way back to the ring. And Orange Cassidy ended up climbing a ladder. He tries to reach the poker chip, and he is nowhere near it, which was funny. So then we had Colt Cabana enter the match. So Colt Cabana went into the ring. He ended up checking out Orange Cassidy's progress. And Cabana ended up shoving Orange Cassidy out of the ring. He ends up setting up the ladder. He climbed up it, but Kip Sabian ended up pulling him down. Cabana then got shoved into the corner, and Orange Cassidy was up. He had his hands in his pockets, of course, and he hits a double drop kick to SCU, and then he hits a suicide dive to SCU. So then we have Joey Janela come out. Joey Janela is in no rush. He dives off the stage on SCU. He then leapt off a ladder and took out Kip Sabian. He did the same thing, of course, to Havoc. So Colt Cabana was trying to set up a ladder. Janela ended up hitting a drop kick off the top rope. And then Kazarian ended up dumping him out of the ring. Janela ended up grabbing a chair. He ended up whacking Kazarian in the back with it. Scorpio Sky ended up yanking the chair away from Janela. Ended up smacking him over the back with the chair. And so Luchasaurus of the Jurassic Express now entered the match. So he came into the match. He kicks the ladder into Kip Sabian. He delivered a chop to Janela's chest and delivered a headbutt to Colt Cabana. He did a knee strike to Scorpio Sky. And then we see Luchasaurus then power bombs Kip Sabian out to the floor on the guys outside. He delivered a big kick to Frankie Kazarian's head, then delivered a choke slam to Kazarian on the ladder. So Darby Allin was shown. He was on the middle rope. He hits a code red to Luchasaurus. And then we get the mystery participant to participate in this casino ladder match. So the mystery participant was Brian Cage. Yes, Brian Cage. You know, there was talks of AEW bringing Brian Cage to the company. He ended up denying those reports, you know, I guess to keep it a surprise. And, you know, we all know who Brian Cage is. You know, he was, of course, in Impact, which, you know, never watched Impact. Only once, but found it boring. Don't even give a shit about Impact. But I know Brian Cage from Lucha Underground, where he just went by the name of Cage. But, you know, he is very talented in the ring. So this was Brian Cage's debut in AEW, and Taz was managing Brian Cage. And I thought that was a good move, having Taz manage Brian Cage. Very good right there. So Taz ended up walking to the back. Cage ended up hitting a twisted F5 to Darby Allin. He was beating up literally everyone in this match. He was taking out everyone. He delivered a suplex to Frankie Kazarian. And Orange Cassidy ended up climbing on his back, on Cage's back. And Cage ended up walking up the ladder, which was funny because he walked up the ladder like nobody was there. So pretty much, basically, Cage ended up decimated everybody in the match. So Cage ended up climbing up the ladder at the end because Cage did military presses on the ladder, and Darby Allin was on there. And Darby Allin ended up going out to the floor. So Cage ended up climbing up the ladder. He takes the poker chip, retrieves it, and he wins the ladder match. So there you go. Brian Cage ends up winning the casino ladder match. He gets a future AEW World Championship match. So that's going to be awesome to see. You know, Brian Cage and whoever won the AEW World Championship match later on, whether it be Moxley or Brodie Lee, which I will get to talking about later on. So, but I thought this was a awesome way to bring in Brian Cage. Really happy that they have Taz being a manager to him. You know, when I thought they would bring Brian Cage in, I thought, you know, his manager would be, of course, his wife, who is Melissa Santos. She's another one from Lucha Underground, where she was the ring announcer for Lucha Underground. Which it would have been cool if AEW would have signed Melissa Santos. But very good move in having Brian Cage win. So really am looking forward to AEW on how, you know, they're going to keep building up Brian Cage after this win. And like I said, the guy is talented in the ring. Really like his style as what we've seen in Lucha Underground, and if you all watched Impact, which I never did, only just that one time, like I said. So, but this was an awesome casino ladder match, even though, in my opinion, it was kind of a clusterfuck, but I was still entertained. And then we had MJF versus Jungle Boy. And this was a very good match between the both of them. Of course, MJF came out with Wardlow. And Jungle Boy ended up starting the match. He ended up dropping MJF with a shoulder tackle. MJF went to his feet. Jungle Boy ended up sending MJF right back down. MJF then rolled out of the ring, and both guys end up trading pinfall attempts. They didn't even get one pinfall attempt, and they both end up getting locked upside down, which I thought that was a very awesome type maneuver there from both MJF and Jungle Boy, and they start slapping each other in the face. Jungle Boy ended up continuing to swing away at MJF. MJF ended up delivering a big shot to Jungle Boy. MJF ends up running to the corner, and he ends up flipping out of the ring, and he falls down. He's holding his knee, and we see the ringside physician comes in to check on MJF. So Jungle Boy ends up backing up, and MJF ends up getting up, gets a cheap shot at Jungle Boy. So MJF was just, beating up on Jungle Boy. He was saying to him, "Oh, you think you're on my level? You'll never be on my level." As MJF was yelling at Jungle Boy. Then Jungle Boy ends up chopping down at MJF, delivering some chops. And Jungle Boy was just delivering more chops to MJF's chest. And MJF ends up hitting a double stomp to Jungle Boy's arm. And at the end of the match, we had both MJF and Jungle Boy, they were trading pinfall attempts. They were both grabbing the tights. And MJF ended up delivering a European clutch on Jungle Boy. And there you go. MJF ended up winning the match. very good match between MJF and Jungle Boy. Both of them gave it all they got here. It was entertaining. And then we moved on to the TNT Championship match. We had Lance Archer versus Cody. Cody, of course, had Arn Anderson managing him. Jake Roberts, Jake the Snake, managing Lance Archer. Mike Tyson ended up heading out to the ring. Ended up carrying the new TNT Championship, which I gotta say, the TNT Championship looks really awesome. I like the design of it. Like how, it's colored in like red. So it's really awesome looking, in my opinion. So Lance Archer ended up coming out. Some guy got chokeslammed by him in the middle of the ring. Mike Tyson was shown with a surprised look on his face, which was funny. So then Cody ended up heading to the ring with Arn Anderson. So Lance Archer, as the match started, Lance Archer went right for the blackout on Cody, which he delivered. Cody ended up rolling out of the ring. And Cody came back to the ring, started to work on Lance Archer's shoulder. And Cody ended up delivering some punches and chops to Archer, but they weren't doing much damage to Archer. So Lance Archer ends up hitting the ropes. Cody grabs Lance Archer by his hair, delivers an uppercut. Cody ended up trying to go for the springboard cutter, but he ended up getting taken down by Lance Archer. So Cody ended up going out to the floor again, and Lance Archer is shown pulling up some of the the floor padding. Cody ended up circling around the ring. He ended up delivering a suicide dive, sending Lance Archer over the barricade. Cody then ended up trying to leap off the rail. He ended up getting caught by Lance Archer, got sent back into ringside, where he ended up crashing down to the floor, to the concrete floor. So we went back in the ring. Lance Archer was, still pounding away on Cody. And what was really funny was the camera ended up catching Mike Tyson yawning. Yes, Mike Tyson was yawning at ringside while the camera was on him, which was hilarious. So Cody ended up pulling Lance Archer against the ring post. Cody ended up getting thrown over the top rope down to the floor. Lance Archer ended up hitting a boot to Cody's face. And we saw Cody ends up back in the ring. Lance Archer ends up going for the cover. Cody ended up kicking out. And Lance Archer continued to beat down on Cody. He yanked on Cody's ear. So Mike Tyson was shown cheering on Cody. And we saw Arn Anderson was giving some advice to Cody on the outside. Archer ends up booting Cody. So there was forearms being thrown from Cody to Lance Archer. And Cody ended up locking in the crossface, and he wrapped Lance Archer's hair around his head. And Jake the Snake Roberts was shown up on the stage. And he was yelling at Cody, and he was asking for a free shot. He was asking for Cody to, punch him. and Archer end up trying to sneak in. Cody ended up hitting a DDT to Lance Archer, and he stares down. Cody was staring down at Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts was pissed, and Lance Archer then ended up hitting a spine buster on Cody. And then Lance Archer had his eyes locked on Arn Anderson. So we had springboard cutter. Cody ended up trying for the crossroads. He ended up getting it on Lance Archer. Went for the cover. Archer ended up kicking out. Cody ended up delivering the Stinger Splash, but Lance Archer ended up countering it, delivering a choke slam. And Jake Roberts ended up getting the ref's attention. Arn Anderson ended up knocking Lance Archer's legs out from under him. And then we see Paul Turner, who was the referee. He comes out and he ends up saying that he saw Arn Anderson get involved. And Mike Tyson was even saying he's getting involved. So the referee ended up tossing Arn Anderson to the back. And Jake Roberts was shown also getting tossed for what reason. So we head back into the ring. We saw a release German suplex from Lance Archer to Cody. Jake Roberts ended up returning back out with a bag. And Mike Tyson got in the way. Mike Tyson ended up taking his shirt off. He was telling Jake Roberts to go to the back. Tyson ends up flexing on the stage. Lance Archer ended up trying to go for the blackout, but Cody ended up reversing it into the crossroads. And there you go. Cody got the pin, and he ends up winning the match, and Cody is the new TNT champion. My original pick was going to be Lance Archer, considering how they have been building up this guy. They've been building up Lance Archer, and I thought that they would give him the TNT championship, just like that. But I saw on online saying that people, fans are having a problem that Cody is the TNT champion. Like before I did this video, I've been seeing people online saying, "Oh, Cody being the TNT champion, why?" A lot of people were expecting, Lance Archer, but I don't have a problem with Cody being the TNT champion. I think that is, a good move there. So, I have no problem with it. So, but really happy for Cody. He is the new TNT champion. So post-match, Mike Tyson ended up going into the ring. He ended up raising Cody's arm. He ends up handing Cody the TNT championship. And the both of them shake hands. Cody ended up raising Tyson's arm. Mike Tyson ended up exiting the ring. Also Cody. And they continued to celebrate. But all in all, very good match from Cody and Lance Archer. And then we had a injury update on Britt Baker, which Britt Baker, was taken out of Double or Nothing because of the injury that she sustained. And they said apparently, there was damage to her knee. They say that the patient is worse than the injury, and they also say that when Britt Baker will announce that when she will return on Dynamite this Wednesday. So apparently, Britt Baker ended up doing some damage to her knee, and she couldn't compete in her match. They pulled her out of her match with Kris Statlander. So that was the next match. Kris Statlander was still competing, but Penelope Ford was now replacing Britt Baker. So we had Penelope Ford versus Kris Statlander. And to be honest, this match didn't really need to be on the pay-per-view. They could have just held this match off until Wednesday on Dynamite. But the match started off with Kris Statlander delivering a side headlock to Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford ended up fighting out of it. And of course, Kip Sabian was out there. He was spotting a neck brace, and he had crutches after the casino ladder match that he had to go through. So Penelope Ford ended up fighting out of the side headlock from Kris Statlander. She got tossed into the ropes and got sent out to the mat. So Statlander ends up dropping Penelope Ford, and Penelope Ford ended up delivering a slap to Statlander's face. Sabian ends up calling Statlander an alien freak because, of course, Kris Statlander is playing the role as an alien, which Kris Statlander, playing the alien, very cool gimmick for her. She doesn't say a word. So, at the end of the match, you had, before I get to that, Kris Statlander then ends up delivering a suicide dive. She ended up taking out both Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. And at the end of the match, Kris Statlander ended up delivering the Big Bang Theory onto Penelope Ford. So there you go. Kris Statlander ends up winning the match. Overall, the match itself, it was just very meh, in my opinion. Didn't care for it. This match, like I said, shouldn't have been on the pay-per-view. They could have just held this match off until Dynamite on Wednesday. But that's my opinion. So then we had Dustin Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. Now, before the match got underway, Shawn Spears ended up heading out to the ring. He wasn't dressed in his ring gear. He came out in a suit, in regular street clothes. And he gets on the mic. And he asks where Dustin Rhodes is. He ends up saying that he's home, washing his tights. So Dustin's music ended up playing. He didn't come out. So Spears then ended up turning to the camera, and he ended up smiling. He ended up saying that he couldn't help it. It's too easy. So he asks the referee, of course, Aubrey Edwards, who is AEW's most over referee. So he ends up asking Aubrey to ring the bell and start the match. Aubrey ends up telling Shawn Spears that Dustin is not even here. So Shawn Spears ended up saying to Aubrey to do her job. So Aubrey then rings the bell, and he ends up saying wins matter, Shawn Spears. And he smiles once again. So Dustin's music ends up playing again. And Spears ended up saying, play it once, idiots. And Dustin came out with Brandy Rhodes. Brandy Rhodes came out first, and then Dustin. And so then we got the match, which the match was very short. So Dustin ends up swinging away on Shawn Spears in the corner. Dustin then rips off of Shawn Spears' coat and shirt. And Dustin was, delivered some chops to the corner on Shawn Spears. Spears ended up landing a clothesline. And we had to see, I don't know why this happened, but we had to see Shawn Spears in his underwear, and Dustin was pulling it. And Shawn Spears on his underwear, he had a picture of Tully Blanchard on it. I'm like, did we really need to see this? So Dustin ended up ripping Shawn Spears' pants off, did a inverted atomic drop, and he ends up clotheslining Shawn Spears out to the floor. And Tully Blanchard's face, like I mentioned, his face was on the front of Spears' underwear. And so then Dustin ends up hitting the final reckoning on Shawn Spears in the ring. So there you go. Dustin ended up winning the match, but overall, very short match. This was another match that they could have held off for Dynamite on Wednesday night. Another match that, after watching it, didn't need to be on the pay-per-view. They should have just held it off for Dynamite Wednesday night. So then we had an announcement. AEW announced that on September 5th, All Out is going to be taking place. So that's going to be really awesome. So All Out's going to be taking place on September 5th. Who knows if if a live crowd is going to take place, because of the whole coronavirus going on. Who knows if fans are going to be back at that time. Hopefully they are. Hopefully, like when the summer comes, with the heat, it kills off this coronavirus, kills off this whole outbreak from the heat when it's like 90, 100 degree weather. Hopefully the heat kills it off, and hopefully we can get a live crowd back as when the year is almost over, like around that time in September. So hopefully around that time, crowds can start coming back to events and, of course, wrestling shows in general. So we had that announcement. And then we had Excalibur on commentary. He paid tribute to the woman who passed away yesterday. Well, it's Sunday now, but on Friday passed away. Her name was Anna Kimura, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She ended up passing away at 22 years of age because of dumbass people online cyberbullying her. Which cyberbullying needs to fucking come to an end. Some of these idiot people, they just hide behind a keyboard and just typing away, saying stupid shit and judging people and making them feel bad. And you know what? That plays into people who have mental health. And it's sad that, people online, they cyberbully people, and, they set themselves, the people who are being cyberbullied, they set themselves up, for suicide and kill themselves. It's very sad. It's very sad, and it's very sick of how these people, of how some of these people online cyberbully other people. It needs to fucking stop. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah. But so it's very sad how, she died at a young age, 22. I haven't seen her work. I know she was on a Netflix show, but it's terrible. Terrible how she had to take her life because of idiot people online cyberbullying her. But he ended up reminding everyone to be a little nicer to each other, Excalibur on commentary. I fully agree with him. Just some people nowadays, they're just very nasty and they're ignorant, some people, and it's very sad. It's very sad how some people in our society, are to other people. But I just had to rant about that, get that out of the way. So then after that, we had Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida in a no DQ, no countouts match. The AEW Women's World Championship was on the line. This was a good match, but could have been shorter, in my opinion. Like as the match went on, it felt very long. Nyla Rose ended up starting off the match with a kendo stick to Hikaru Shida. Hikaru Shida ended up nearly getting away from that. She ended up in the clothesline from Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose then ended up hitting Hikaru Shida in the back with the kendo stick. Hikaru Shida was sent into the corner. Nyla Rose ended up charging in. She missed because Hikaru Shida ended up moving out of the way. Shida ended up delivering the high knee to Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose ended up recovering. She ended up beating up Hikaru Shida on the floor. And Hikaru Shida was lifted up by Nyla Rose. And she was sent through a poker table that was set up at ringside. So Nyla Rose ended up getting a chair. She ends up jamming it into Hikaru Shida. Nyla Rose, this was back in the ring. Nyla Rose was looking to deliver the Beast Bomb, but Hikaru Shida ended up reversing it with the Hurricanrana. And then she did a sliding knee strike to Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose ended up coming back, delivering a suplex and a clothesline to Hikaru Shida, which sent her out to the floor. Hikaru Shida ended up delivering a crossbody and a running knee to the back of Nyla Rose's head. So then Hikaru Shida ended up dumping Nyla Rose out at ringside. Nyla Rose ended up getting sent into one of the other giant poker chips. Hikaru Shida ended up hip tossing Nyla Rose on the chip. Shida ended up delivering a running knee, sending Rose back into another poker chip. And Hikaru Shida ended up having the kendo stick, and she smacks Nyla Rose in the arm. They went back to the ring, and Hikaru Shida ended up hitting more shots with the kendo stick. And she then ended up suplexing Nyla Rose on the kendo stick, which was cool. And at the end of the match, Hikaru Shida ended up winning. She ended up delivering a running knee to Nyla Rose's face. So there you go. Hikaru Shida ended up winning the match, and she is the new AEW Women's World Champion. So that's very cool. All in all, good match. but match should have been, a little bit shorter. The match kind of dragged in the middle, in my opinion. Glad Hikaru Shida is the new AEW Women's World Champion. And then we had Jon Moxley versus Brodie Lee for the AEW World Championship. And Brodie Lee ends up coming into AEW, just like that. He ended up debuting, and then already they are giving him a title shot, which to me was too early. It was too early for Brodie Lee to get a title shot, considering he just arrived in AEW. So, but before the match got underway, security was in the ring, and they were there to help keep Moxley and Brodie Lee separate. And as the match got underway, the two of them end up having a face start. Brodie Lee ended up striking. He went for a big boot, and Moxley ended up moving out of the way, ended up falling out to the floor. Moxley ended up throwing Brodie Lee into the barricade, and the barricade ended up breaking. Brodie Lee got back up, and he suplexes Moxley onto the floor. And we went back to the ring. Brodie Lee ended up delivering some suplexes to Moxley. Moxley went out to the floor. Brodie Lee ended up delivering a suicide dive, which sent Moxley through the hole and barricade. So Brodie Lee ended up putting one of the barricades up on one of the other rails. Moxley ended up getting suplexed into that barricade. So they went back to the ring. Moxley and Brodie Lee were trading shots at each other. Brodie Lee ended up delivering another suplex on Moxley. And Brodie Lee ended up charging in, and he ended up taking a lariat from Moxley. Moxley ended up setting up ring steps, and he runs at Brodie Lee. He got caught with a drop kick, and Moxley and Brodie Lee were up on the steel steps, and Moxley Moxley ended up body dropping Brodie Lee through a table over there. So there was a part in the match where Moxley ended up delivering the paradigm shift, and they went through the entrance ramp. They broke the entrance ramp, so they ended up crashing through the stage. So the referees were checking on both Moxley and Brodie Lee. Moxley was shown coming out of the hole. Brodie Lee then ended up getting back up. He was busted open. He was bleeding from the face. And Moxley ended up delivering the paradigm shift. And Moxley ended up delivering elbows and knees to Brodie Lee. Moxley ended up locking in a rear naked choke on Brodie Lee, and he was trying to choke Brodie Lee out. Brodie Lee was fading. The referee was checking on Brodie Lee, and the referee ended up calling for the bell. So Moxley ends up winning the match because of referee stoppage. But all in all, this was a good match. Very, very good match between Moxley and Brodie Lee. Both of them gave it all they got in this match. And it was a brutal match between the both of them. that spot where Moxley did the paradigm shift and both him and Brodie Lee went crashing through the stage, that was awesome. That was one of the highlights of the match. Overall, very good match between Moxley and Brodie Lee. In the post-match, you had Moxley end up saying, "Keep your distance from the AEW World Champion if you know what's good for you." So Moxley shouted that at the camera. And then after that, we had the unveil of the AEW action figures. And they look really awesome. Hopefully, we'll purchase them when they come out. They're going to be available in August. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one of those figures. Whether it's Cody or the Elite, Kenny Omega. I want to collect them. So we had that announcement, which, like I said, those are going to be released in August. So definitely looking forward to that. And it's going to be called the AEW Unrivaled Collection. So the figures look awesome. And then we had the main event, which this I really loved, really enjoyed, and it was fucking hilarious. We had the Stadium Stampede Match, and the match was not live. It was taped, and it was taped at the TIAA Bank Stadium. There was a ring that was set up at the 50-yard line. There was false count anywhere, no disqualifications. So it was the Elite, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, and Matt Hardy versus the Inner Circle, Jericho, Hager, Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz. And each team was introduced by Justin Roberts. And they came out like, the football players do, supporting, with their jerseys on, which I really liked. I really enjoyed that. They had, the Jacksonville Jaguars cheerleaders out there also. So this was like a ordinary, start of the season football game. So the Inner Circle had, came out first. They had the helmets on, their heads. And, I'm not going to explain everything that happened in this match, just certain parts, because I'll be here all night explaining, everything that happened in this match. So Matt Jackson came out. He was banged up, and he has his ribs, his ribs were taped up. Kenny Omega came out, of course, Matt Hardy, and then they announced Hangman Adam Page. And he's not there. He doesn't immediately show up. And 4 referees were being involved in this match. And then, as the match got underway, the Elite and the Inner Circle, both teams ran at each other. They were swinging away with weapons that they had. Kenny Omega was running with a broom, which was hilarious. Guevara ended up getting dropped. And he turns around and he sees Hangman Adam Page riding on a horse. And that was a beautiful looking horse. Really liked how that horse looked. And even on commentary, they even said what a beautiful horse that was, that, how the horse looked. And Hangman Adam Page on the horse, he's chasing Sammy Guevara off the field. And Sammy Guevara's running off the field, which was hilarious. I was laughing hysterically. And even though it wasn't a golf cart, which, I'll get to later, but we're going to be getting, somebody right now is creating more Sammy Guevara memes after what we saw with the horse. And later on, which I'll get to. So Hangman and Page was looking around for Guevara on the horse. Everyone was battling on the field. You had Jericho end up trying the Judas effect, but Matt Jackson ended up getting involved. He ended up kicking Jericho out of the ring. And the Inner Circle and the cheerleaders were chanting Sammy Guevara because Sammy Guevara ended up finding his way back on the field. And he ended up kicking Nick Jackson. So the Inner Circle was sent out of the ring. And Sammy ended up getting attacked from everyone, from, the Elite. And then we saw Matt Jackson. He gets up on the goalpost. And he climbs up the ladder. He goes up the goalpost. And he climbs up it. And he made his way to the middle of the goalpost. And he delivered a awesome looking moonsault off of the goalpost onto Guevara, Jericho, and Nick. So he went for the cover on Jericho. Jericho kicked out. And some of the guys, they made their way up into the stands of the TIAA Bank Field. And then Santana and Ortiz were beating up on Kenny Omega. Hangman Adam Page was still shown on his horse. He was looking around for Sammy Guevara. So Page ended up getting off his horse. He tells the horse to stay. And where was Page going? He was headed to the bar. So Santana and Ortiz were smacking Kenny Omega with loaded socks. And Kenny Omega ended up getting double powerbombed from Santana and Ortiz through two barricades, which broke down to the concrete floor. And there was a point where Santana and Ortiz, they were beating up Matt Hardy. And Ortiz ended up sending Matt Hardy into the pool. Santana ended up jumping in to beat up on Matt Hardy. Ortiz ended up saying to Santana that he can't swim. And he's like, oh, get in. So they attempt to drown Matt Hardy. And so from, the water, we see Matt Hardy version 1 emerge. And man, it's been a long time since we've seen, Matt Hardy and his version 1 gimmick. Which, when he was in WWE and he had that gimmick, I really enjoyed that gimmick. He was, a heel, when he had the version 1 gimmick. And they had the old school, Matt version 1 thing where it would be like a player, and it would be like facts about Matt Hardy, which I liked. So we had the Matt Hardy facts, appear on the screen, and another version of Matt Hardy ended up popping up from the water, and of course it was broken Matt Hardy, and he ended up pulling Santana and Ortiz into the water, and Matt Hardy's going, delete. So Ortiz ended up climbing out of the water. Matt Hardy ends up saying that he must pay for what happened to Vanguard 1. So basically, what this whole pool thing was, was it the pool of reincarnation with Matt Hardy? And that's why he was doing, the version 1 and, broken Matt Hardy. So I thought this was very cool, very hilarious. And so then we had Ortiz put on a table. Santana ended up charging at Matt Hardy and gets back body dropped down on Ortiz. Ortiz was brought under the bell that was right there. Matt Hardy ends up ringing the bell, and Ortiz was trembling, and Matt Hardy ended up bringing a wheelchair up. He sits Ortiz in the wheelchair, tapes him down. Matt Hardy then ended up sending Santana into an ice machine. He ended up throwing Santana into the ice machine, closed it, locked it up with a broom. And Jake Hager was shown walking the halls, and he was looking for Hangman Adam Page. He sees the horse that Page was riding. And so Hager makes his way to the bar. So Page was sitting at a bar having a drink. Page ends up asking Hager, if he came to fight or if he came to drink. So Hager ends up drinking. And then Hangman and Page starts swinging on Hager. Hager ends up delivering some big knees on Page. He ends up launching Page over a pool table. Page ends up getting a pull stick. He ends up hitting it over Hager's back, cracking the stick, which the stick didn't do anything to Hager. So then we had Kenny Omega ends up showing up to the bar. He smashes a bottle over Hager's head, which did nothing. So Page and Omega end up showing up to the bar, ends up, trying to crack a bunch of bottles over Hager's head. And then Kenny Omega ends up hitting a V trigger to Hager. And Page ends up delivering a buckshot lariat, which he used Kenny Omega's back as a jump off. And then Page was behind the bar, and he ends up pouring Kenny Omega a glass of milk. Omega then ends up pouring Page some whiskey, and they both drink it. Kenny Omega drinks his glass of milk. Page ends up drinking his glass of whiskey. So then we went back to the field. Matt Hardy was fighting Sammy Guevara. Oh, not Matt Hardy, Matt Jackson, I'm sorry. Matt Jackson was fighting Guevara on the field, and Matt Jackson was delivering Northern Lights suplexes to Guevara across the field, made his way to the touchdown, which was funny. And Jericho ended up getting the megaphone, and he had to tell Nick that he should have stayed home. So Nick ended up kicking him, smashed the megaphone over Jericho. And then we had part of the match where Omega and Matt Hardy were on the golf cart. They were chasing Sammy Guevara with the golf cart again, just like they did 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. And I know there was a certain someone out there already making a meme of that, of Guevara running the field. So Guevara ended up climbing into the stands, and there was a point where Guevara was down, and the sprinkler went off. Water was shooting at him. So I had to mention that. So Guevara was up in the stands. He was throwing chairs at Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy. And Kenny Omega went into the stands. And the Elite were surrounding Guevara. And lo and behold, we saw Matt Hardy's new drone come by. And his new drone is called Neo 1. So Neo 1 was distracting Sammy Guevara, and Kenny Omega ended up delivering a V-trigger to Guevara, and he delivered the one-winged angel on Guevara all the way down from the stands, and they went through a wooden structure which broke. So Kenny Omega went for the pin. Aubrey Edwards counted the 1, 2, 3. She blew the whistle, and there you go. The Elite end up winning the Stadium Stampede match. And post-match, the Elite end up celebrating. They end up giving Kenny Omega a Gatorade bath. Fireworks were going off in the background. And that was how the pay-per-view ended. But all in all, this Stadium Stampede match was fun. It was hilarious. I had a great time watching this match from beginning to end. You know, I want to watch this match, go back and watch this match once again. It was just awesome. I loved it. I loved it from beginning to end. And it was the most fun match of the year, in my opinion. Just after the end of it, I had a smile on my face. That was how much fun I had with this match. So, all in all, like I said, Double or Nothing was an awesome show. Really enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect by any means, though, but the show was awesome. But anyways, that's it for my review of Double or Nothing. Thank you all for watching. I know, yeah, this is a long review. It's an hour and 12 minutes. But thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, I'll see you all later.